I shouldn't be telling you this. In fact, I'm crossing a line that few dare to cross, because the truth about power, the real unfiltered truth, is not meant for everyone. It's ugly. It's dangerous. And once you hear it, you can never unhear it. We live in a world that worships kindness, fairness, and virtue. But Machiavelli saw the game as it truly is. Power doesn't reward goodness. It rewards ruthlessness disguised as virtue. The powerful don't play by the rules. They write them. They smile in your face while cutting your throat. They make you believe they're noble while using you as a pawn. Most people will never learn this because they can't handle it. They're too afraid to look at how the world actually works. But if you're still here, it means you're ready to see what others are too blind or too weak to confront. What I'm about to reveal is not just advice, it's a weapon. And if you use it correctly, it will change your life forever. People love to dress power in white robes. They like to believe the successful rose because they were honest, noble, and virtuous. This is the bedtime story the world tells itself so it can sleep at night. But Machiavelli stripped that illusion bare. He saw what most refuse to see. Power is never pure, never clean, never innocent. Every throne has blood under it. Every fortune has secrets buried inside it. Every man or woman at the top stepped over someone to get there, whether they admit it or not. The history books might polish their reputations, but if you dig deep enough, you'll find betrayal, lies, intimidation, and force. That is the true foundation of power. The weak hate hearing this because it shatters their comforting beliefs. They want to believe that goodness alone wins, that merit naturally rises, that the best man always triumphs. If that were true, the world would be ruled by saints. But look around. Is it saints who hold power or predators dressed as gentlemen? Machiavelli understood something essential. Power is not granted to those who wait patiently for it. It is seized by those willing to do what others won't. Those who cling to innocence as if it's armor are always the first to be destroyed. Because innocence doesn't protect you, it exposes you. The powerful know this. That's why they learn to play two roles at once: the benevolent face in public and the ruthless strategist in private. They sign treaties while plotting wars. They shake hands while planning betrayals. They deliver speeches about justice while sharpening the knife behind the curtain. And here's the most dangerous part. People believe them. They believe the smile. They believe the words. They never question what's really happening behind the scenes because they want to believe power is clean. It makes them feel safe. But you are not here to feel safe. You are here to wake up. You are here to learn that behind every empire, behind every CEO, behind every politician, there is a ledger written in deceit and opportunism. Not because they're evil for the sake of evil, but because that is what survival at the top demands. When you accept this truth, you stop asking the wrong questions. You stop asking, how can I succeed while staying completely innocent? And you start asking, what must I sacrifice to win? This doesn't mean you must become openly vicious. In fact, that's the mistake amateurs make. They show their fangs too early. True power doesn't brag about its ruthlessness. It hides it behind charm, generosity, and apparent virtue. That's why Machiavelli advised rulers to learn to appear merciful, faithful, and honest, even when circumstances force them to be the opposite. You don't have to enjoy deception. You just have to master it. Because if you refuse to use it, you'll be destroyed by someone who does. The world will not reward you for being good. It will use you, exploit you, and then toss you aside while applauding the cunning man who took what you deserved. The dark truth is this: power does not corrupt. It reveals, it shows who is willing to get their hands dirty to hold it. It shows who understands that every crown carries a hidden dagger. If you want to rise, erase the fantasy that power is innocent. Stop believing the myths. Start looking at the world as Machiavelli did, coldly, clearly, without emotion. Only then will you see how the game is really played and why the pure of heart never make it out alive. We like to think corruption is a stain, an accident, a flaw in an otherwise noble system. But that's the comforting lie. Corruption isn't the exception. Corruption is the system. Whenever power gathers in one place, it bends everything around it. Wealth, favors, influence. These don't just cling to power, they fuel it. Every law, every institution, every noble-sounding ideal eventually becomes a tool for those who know how to use it. And those who refuse to play along, they're pushed out, silenced, or destroyed. People imagine corruption as envelopes of cash under tables, shady handshakes in the dark. But real corruption is bigger and far more subtle. It's entire governments passing laws that serve the powerful. It's companies writing regulations they're supposed to follow. It's leaders trading favors, not because they're evil, but because that's how the game works. Machiavelli understood this long before modern politics. He knew that rulers don't stay in power by being virtuous. They stay in power by being effective, and effectiveness always means compromise. A prince might speak about justice, but behind closed doors, he's rewarding loyal friends, punishing disloyal ones, and making deals to hold his throne. In theory, corruption is what happens when someone breaks the rules. In practice, the powerful write the rules to justify their own corruption. What looks illegal for you is perfectly legal for them. They don't cheat the system. They are the system. That's why every empire, every government, every corporation eventually rots from within. Not because people are unusually wicked, but because power attracts ambition. And ambition always demands reward. The longer someone holds power, the more they use it to protect themselves, their allies, and their wealth. This isn't just ancient history. Look around today. Politicians leave office richer than they entered. Regulators take high-paying jobs in the very industries they were meant to police. Public money vanishes into private hands, while speeches about serving the people echo in marble halls. Is this a mistake? No. It's the natural state of power. The truly Machiavellian leaders don't fight corruption. They manage it, they keep it organized, predictable, and under their control. They decide who gets to profit and who gets punished. They make sure no rival grows so powerful that the corruption escapes their grasp. In other words, they don't eliminate rot. They make sure they are the ones directing it. What does this mean for anyone who seeks power? Stop believing that clean hands can rule. If you climb high enough, you will make compromises. You will choose between ideals and survival, and you will justify it, because everyone does. The greatest trick rulers ever pulled was convincing the public that corruption is an anomaly, that bad actors occasionally infect a good system. In reality, the system is designed to protect its own operators. When someone is caught, they're not punished for being corrupt. They're punished for being careless. People like to believe that information is free, that truth naturally spreads and balances the scales. But history says otherwise. Information has always belonged to the powerful, and they decide who gets to know what. Centuries ago, princes controlled their kingdoms not just with swords, but with messengers and spies. They knew who was plotting, who was loyal, who was quietly sharpening a dagger. Machiavelli understood this. A ruler who knows everything, but reveals nothing, holds an advantage. No army can match. Information wasn't shared. It was hoarded, and when it leaked by design. Today, the world pretends that transparency rules. Politicians speak of open government. Corporations promise accountability. But the pattern hasn't changed. Only the technology has. Those in power still decide what's visible and what's hidden. A press conference shows you the part of the picture they want you to see. A quarterly report shows you the numbers they want you to believe. The rest is buried, sealed, or classified. The powerful always make sure they know more about you than you know about them. It's why governments build surveillance systems. It's why companies track every click, every search, every purchase. They're not gathering information to protect you. They're gathering information to control you, to predict your behavior, to shape it, and if necessary, to use it against you. Meanwhile, what do you know about them? What do you really know about the people at the very top, the ones signing the orders, setting the prices, writing the laws? You see their speeches, their press photos, their carefully managed scandals. You don't see their private conversations, their deals behind closed doors, or the skeletons locked deep in their closets. History's most effective leaders understood this perfectly. The Emperor Augustus knew everything about his rivals in Rome, who they met, what they planned, while keeping his own intentions hidden. The great merchants of Venice guarded trade routes like state secrets, destroying anyone who tried to publish them. Even in modern times, intelligence agencies have toppled governments not by firing a single shot, but by knowing one truth no one else knew. People assume lies are the strongest weapon in politics. They're wrong. Silence is stronger. When you control the flow of information, you don't even need to lie. You simply decide which facts get released and which stay buried. Rivals swing blindly in the dark, fighting shadows, while you've already chosen the winner. This is why power always comes with secrecy. Leaders who speak too openly lose control. Leaders who know too little get replaced. The ones who last are the ones who learn everything, share nothing, and feed the public only enough truth to keep them docile. It's not an accident that whistleblowers are treated as threats. It's not an accident that real leaks are rare, and the ones you hear about often serve someone's hidden agenda. When you decide what information flows to the masses, you decide what they fear, what they desire, and what they think is real. The cold truth is this: truth itself isn't powerful, controlled truth is. And the powerful will always decide which version of reality survives. People talk about justice as if it's carved in stone. They talk about truth as if it floats above politics, untouchable. But history isn't written by truth. History is written by whoever's left standing. Machiavelli saw this with brutal clarity. A leader who loses is called a tyrant. A leader who wins is called a visionary. The actions might be the same: betrayal, coercion, even murder. But the verdict changes depending on who survives to tell the story. Look back at the names carved into monuments. How many of them would still be honored if their enemies had lived to write the record? Julius Caesar overthrew the Roman Republic by force, but Rome called him a savior. Napoleon crowned himself emperor and was celebrated as a genius until he lost, and his enemies branded him a monster. Power doesn't just control the present. It reaches backward through time and rewrites the past. This is what rulers fear more than death itself. Erasure. Losing power doesn't just end your rule. It erases your version of events. Your victories vanish. Your name becomes poison. You stop being a hero and start being a warning. People assume history is objective because it's written down in books, carved in marble, stored in digital archives. But every age has its senses. Ancient emperors chiseled rivals' names off monuments. Medieval kings rewrote chronicles to favor their dynasties. Even now, in an era of constant cameras, narratives still bend to whoever holds influence. Records disappear. Documents are buried. Official stories overwrite messy realities. The truth doesn't survive on its own. It has to be carried, and only the strong have the means to carry it. If you fall, your truth dies with you. The victors keep their truth alive by funding historians, commissioning statues, endowing libraries. They make sure the next generation learns the correct version of events, theirs. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to focus not on being loved, but on staying in power. Love fades, legitimacy can be questioned, but victory rewrites everything. No one asks how you climb to the top if you stay there long enough to make it look inevitable. No one calls you cruel if you're the reason they eat. No one calls you a liar if you control the history books. Take a closer look at how this works. When a ruler crushes rivals, it's called tyranny until enough time passes. Then it's called bringing order. When a conqueror burns cities, it's called barbarism, unless his empire survives long enough to build universities, in which case it becomes civilization. What was once treachery becomes necessary action. What was once ambition becomes service to the people. The dark lesson is simple. It's not about being right, it's about being the last one standing. When your enemies are gone, your version of events becomes the only version. There's no one left to contradict you. And when the dust settles, people don't care about the details. They want stability, not accuracy. They want a story that makes sense. The victor is always happy to provide one, and to punish anyone who doesn't repeat it. This isn't just ancient history. Even now, governments topple foreign regimes, and later explain it as liberation. Companies crush competitors, and call it innovation. Leaders reverse themselves completely, and call it evolving with the times. If you stay in power long enough, the story adjusts to make you look wise. So, remember this. The moral judgment of history isn't handed down by some divine court. It's handed down by whoever writes the last page. Those who survive decide who was righteous, who was wicked, and who is simply forgotten. And the world accepts their judgment because there's no one left to challenge it. People fear chaos because it looks dangerous. Streets full of protests, governments collapsing, markets plunging. It feels like the end of the world. But for those hungry for power, chaos isn't destruction, it's opportunity. Machiavelli knew that stable societies lock power in place. The hierarchy is fixed, the rules are written, and the people on top have no intention of letting anyone climb. In times of peace, ambition is a crime. Those who dream of rising higher are told to wait their turn, and their turn never comes. Stability protects rulers, not challengers. It's a cage for anyone who wants more than they've been given. Chaos changes everything. When the old order crumbles, rules no longer matter. People stop asking if you're allowed to take power and start asking if you're strong enough to hold it. A clever, ruthless person can climb further in 1 year of upheaval than in 20 years of peace. History proves it again and again. Revolutions don't reward the patient or the virtuous. They reward the bold. When the Roman Republic fell into civil war, men like Caesar seized power while cautious senators wrung their hands. When Europe burned in the 20th century, unknown men rose to absolute control in the space of months simply because they were willing to act when everyone else froze. Chaos is dangerous for the masses, but it's fertile ground for the ambitious. While ordinary people cling to safety, great players move fast, make deals, and take risks no one else dares. They know that when the smoke clears, no one remembers how you took power. They only remember who ended up with it. On the other hand, stability is deceptive. It feels safe, but it slowly suffocates those who want to rise. In calm times, institutions defend the status quo. Laws protect the already powerful. Careers advance by loyalty, not merit. Every move is scrutinized, every ambition punished. If you threaten those at the top, you're crushed quietly before you even begin. That's why powerful people secretly fear chaos, not because it hurts the people, but because it shakes their throne. And that's why those who want to take their place secretly pray for it. War, crisis, famine, economic collapse. These are doors to power disguised as disasters. Of course, chaos is risky. It doesn't guarantee victory. It only gives the ruthless a chance to try. Many fall climbing that ladder. But here's the thing, those who survive rise fast. In chaos, there's no slow grind, no decades of waiting for permission. You seize what you can, as quickly as you can. And if you win, you make the new rules. Once you reach the top, everything changes again. Now chaos is no longer your friend. Now it threatens you. And just as you once used turmoil to climb, you will now use stability to trap everyone else. You'll strengthen laws, tighten borders, censor information, and build systems to keep ambitious rivals locked where they are. You'll build your own cage, not for you, but for them. This is the rhythm of power, Chaos to climb, stability to rule. Those who understand it thrive. Those who don't are crushed, dreaming of a fair world that never comes. The dark truth is simple. Chaos isn't the enemy of power, it's the birthplace of power, but only for those ruthless enough to climb while everyone else is too busy trying to survive. We love to tell ourselves that people will fight for freedom above all else, that liberty is the ultimate human desire. But history tells a different story. When fear enters the room, freedom walks out. People claim they want to think for themselves, live without chains, and make their own choices. But what they really crave, deep in their bones, is safety, protection, a guarantee that tomorrow will look like today. Freedom is risky. Freedom means uncertainty. And when danger rises, most people will trade their liberty for security without a second thought. This is not a theory, it's a pattern. When societies feel threatened by war, by famine, by economic collapse, they almost always turn to strong rulers, to strict laws, to surveillance and control. They cheer for it, they demand it, and the ones who provide it, even if they're ruthless, are remembered as saviors, not tyrants. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. He wrote that a prince must protect his people, not necessarily make them free. If they feel safe, they won't care how he keeps them safe. In fact, they'll forgive almost anything, heavy taxes, harsh laws, even open corruption, as long as they can sleep at night without fear. Look at any crisis in history. During the fall of the Roman Republic, citizens embraced emperors who promised bread and circuses rather than the messy uncertainty of elections. In the 20th century, nations under threat rallied around leaders who stripped away freedoms in the name of national security. People who once shouted about liberty begged for someone to take control, anyone who would silence the chaos. Why does this happen? Because freedom requires responsibility, and most people don't want it. It's hard work to govern yourself, to make your own choices, to live with the consequences. Security, on the other hand, feels easy. When someone powerful says, "I'll handle it, just obey," it's a tempting offer. This is why rulers who understand fear are so effective. They don't have to take freedom away. The people will hand it over voluntarily. Just make them feel threatened by outsiders, by crime, by instability, and they'll accept almost any measure as long as it promises protection. The cage is comfortable when the world outside looks dangerous. The truly dark truth: most people don't notice when freedom disappears. They only notice when safety disappears. Take away a man's liberty, and he grumbles. Take away his security, and he riots. A ruler who provides safety will always be forgiven for stealing freedom. Even today, in modern democracies, this principle holds. Citizens talk endlessly about rights and privacy until there's an attack, a crisis, or a disaster. Then they demand stronger laws, stricter enforcement, more control. Politicians know this. They exploit it. They promise protection, and in exchange, they quietly gather more power. Machiavelli would say this isn't evil. It's natural. People are guided by fear far more than by principle. A wise ruler doesn't waste time trying to make them love freedom. He focuses on making them feel secure. He gives them symbols of stability, walls, armies, police, surveillance, and they reward him with obedience. The paradox is cruel. Those who scream loudest about liberty are often the first to give it up when they feel unsafe. They think freedom is their birthright, but safety is their addiction. And rulers who understand this addiction can control entire nations without firing a shot. The lesson is clear. If you want to rule, don't promise freedom, promise security. And if you want to stay in power, make sure the people believe danger is always near, so they'll keep running back to your protection, even if it costs them everything. People like to believe that loyalty is the foundation of power, that if you treat people well, they'll stand by you forever. It's a comforting myth, but history shows something colder. Loyalty fades, fear endures. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler should wish to be both loved and feared. But if he had to choose, fear is safer. Love is soft. It changes with moods, with rumors, with time. People will cheer you when you're strong, but abandon you the moment you look weak. Fear doesn't ask for applause. Fear doesn't need to be fed. Fear sits in the gut, unshaken by gratitude or promises. Look at fallen leaders throughout history. Many were once adored, the kind who kissed babies, gave generous gifts, smiled for the crowds. But when trouble came, their friends disappeared. Courtiers defected. Soldiers switched sides. The people they trusted most were the first to cut deals with their enemies. Why? Because love is cheap. Fear has a price. Fear is not about cruelty for its own sake. It's about certainty. A ruler who is feared never has to guess where people stand. They may plot against you in secret, but they obey in public. They may resent you, but they think twice before betraying you. Loyalty is a handshake. Fear is a chain. This doesn't mean terrorizing everyone around you. A wise ruler uses fear sparingly, like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. Too much fear breeds desperation, and desperate people become dangerous. But just enough fear makes hesitation instinctive. People pause before crossing you. They calculate the cost, and most decide it isn't worth paying. Even in modern politics and business, this truth holds. Leaders who rely on charm and popularity are vulnerable the moment public opinion shifts. But leaders who command respect through consequence, the quiet knowledge that betrayal will hurt, don't need to beg for support. People follow them, not because they want to, but because they have to. Fear also outlasts memory. People forget favors. They forget kindness. They even forget shared victories. But they never forget what happened to the last person who betrayed you. One public example, a single ruthless move, can echo longer than years of goodwill. It whispers through halls and boardrooms. Don't try it. You know how this ends. The dark truth is this. Loyalty ties people to you only as long as you keep giving them what they want. Fear ties them to you even when they hate you. And when you finally lose power, because everyone does eventually, you'll see which one was real. Those who loved you will vanish. Those who feared you will stay far away, not because they care, but because they still remember. Machiavelli never romanticized human nature. He knew people act in their own interest first, and a ruler must shape that interest. Fear is the simplest way to do it. If the cost of betrayal is higher than the reward, people stay loyal, even if they despise you. So while soft-hearted rulers hope to be loved, hard-headed rulers ensure they're feared, and only one of them sleeps soundly at night. Power isn't what we were taught to believe. It's not noble, it's not fair, and it's never innocent. If you followed this series, you've seen the mask pulled off. Rulers aren't guided by virtue. They're guided by survival, and the tools they use, fear, control, manipulation, aren't accidents. They're the very engines of power. The question is, now that you've seen the truth, what will you do with it? You can look away, go back to the comforting lie that good guys win because they're good. Or you can keep learning how the game is really played. Because once you understand the rules, you're harder to control. You stop being a pawn and start thinking like a player. If these dark truths opened your eyes, don't stop here. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Not because it feeds the algorithm, but because it keeps you connected to knowledge most people never hear or don't want to hear. The powerful already understand these lessons. The question is, will you stay sharp, stay watching? Because in the game of power, there's always another.